Hi, welcome to today's PEP Talk Forgiveness. I have to be honest, I debated on whether I wanted to do a PEP Talk on forgiveness. Forgiveness is a very sensitive subject. It's one that I talk about quite a bit with clients in sessions. And it's one that I think is very important and I wanted to share with everyone. Yet I was a little concerned by doing it as a PEP Talk that this is a monologue. It's not a dialogue. And unfortunately, if you have questions or if you're unclear about something that I'm saying, we don't have the opportunity in a PEP Talk for me to clarify those questions. And so I debated on whether do I really want to do a PEP Talk and potentially maybe confuse somebody or upset them in some way. And I decided I wanted to take the risk and I wanted to go ahead and do a PEP Talk on forgiveness because I do think it's such an important topic and I think it's one that many people struggle with. I wanted to just start by simply, looking at forgiveness and thinking about what that means to you. And really just taking a moment for you to just kind of think about what does forgiveness mean to you. I believe that there's a way to reframe forgiveness. And I don't mean this in a way of minimizing what the word means or what the action or the behavior means. I mean this in a way of helping people who struggle with that word to maybe be able to allow themselves to free themselves by thinking of it in a different way. And what I mean by this is I know for many of my clients, they have endured some horrific past traumas, and there have been perpetrators that victimized them in some way and hurt them in some way. And oftentimes that question comes up in therapy, do I need to forgive that person? And first of all, I think it's very important for everybody to make that decision on their own. Nobody, in my opinion, has the right to tell you if you need to forgive somebody. That truly needs to be something that comes from within you. Secondly, I think there's a way of reframing that word forgiveness and thinking about it as energy. I think that if a person is putting energy into hating another person, or being angry with them, or holding them accountable for something in a way that's toxic to the person that's holding on to it, that to me is energy that's tying that person up and keeping them connected to that other person. And to me, that's kind of a prison. And I don't think that that's healthy for people. Again, for me, a way of reframing that is thinking about, am I giving energy of myself to another person? Am I angry with them and hating them? And that's keeping me tied or keeping me imprisoned to the act that was done towards me that's hindering me from releasing myself so that I can move forward. When we're holding on to that kind of energy, we're typically not hurting the other person. We could be, especially if it's somebody in our day-to-day life and we're angry with them or we're holding on to a resentment towards them. We definitely could be hurting them. Typically, though, it's more hurting ourselves. And I'm thinking about this again, kind of in bigger pictures of, again, people who have been traumatized in some way by another person, whether that's physical abuse, emotional abuse, or sexual abuse. And so I encourage people in those kinds of situations particularly to really think about, is that energy that you're giving towards that person allowing that person to continue to control you in a way? Because you're holding on to this anger or resentment or hurt, is that keeping you from being able to release yourself so that they're not still controlling you in some way? I think there are other areas where maybe somebody has hurt our feelings by something they've said or done, and maybe it's not as severe as somebody who's been sexually abused. And I don't say that in a way to minimize anybody who's been hurt. I mean that more that, maybe your spouse or your partner said something to you with a little bit more of an impersonal tone than what you wanted. In a situation like that, I do, again, think it's important for us to step back and really think about how is that helping me, for me to hold on being angry at that person for something that they've said or done. For today's discussion, what I'm really looking at is more of those bigger situations, those times, again, where there's a trauma involved and someone's really questioning, do I need to forgive the person who offended me? And again, my hope in kind of summarizing here is thinking of that more as energy. If you are someone who can think about it in the terms of forgiveness, and you can say that you forgive that person, that's a beautiful thing. If you're someone, though, who that word you struggle with, or you're not sure where you stand with that, really think about it in the sense of energy. And think about, are you giving that person energy? Is that person still taking energy from you because you've not allowed yourself to fully move through and release that trauma and release those bonds, so to speak, that are still holding you to those traumas? Of course, in my practice, EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, is something that I utilize to help people to move through the trauma. Even on the other side of that trauma, some people are still struggling with where they stand with the person that harmed them. And that's my purpose in doing this pep talk today, is to hopefully help some of those people who have been hurt by another person and they're struggling over that word forgiveness. And again, working on reframing that and thinking of it as energy. Are you giving energy away, or are you feeling like that person is still controlling you in some way? And by working on releasing yourself from that and allowing yourself to be free, so to speak. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions or need some clarifications on anything that I've said today, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I truly mean for these pep talks to always provide help and not to ever be anything that's hurtful to another person. And so I'm really hopeful that there's somebody who's taken this information today and it's helping you and it's helping to release you. If it's something, like I said, that feels as though there's some questions or you're not sure what I mean, or you need some clarification, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would be happy to help and to provide some clarification. Thank you so much for joining me today, and please do one thing purposefully to attain true PEP for life.